This is CityCast Madison. I'm Bianca Martin, and here's what Madison's talking about. Today, did you know we're in peak spring migratory bird season? Millions of birds fly over Madison every night, and if you're looking, you can spot some incredible species who land here to eat and rest on their route, plus see all the birds returning to their home right here in Madison. World Migratory Bird Day is this Saturday, May 9th, so we're bringing back my conversation from last spring with the Wisco birder himself. Hey, Dexter Patterson, the Wisco birder, the legend. What's good?
What's up, Bianca?
It's so good to see you. And for those who haven't met you yet, your bio has like a great descriptor for an introduction. Bird nerd, wandering Wisconsin, spreading bird joy. I feel like we could all use a bit more joy in our lives these days. It's also spring, so perfect time for birding when the birdies are coming home. Dex, what is the joy in birding?
There's so much, I always tell people birding isn't about the birds. It's there's so many levels to it. You're getting the sunlight, you're breathing the fresh air, you're hearing running water. You may go hug a couple trees, you may touch some grass. And none of that has anything to do with birds. So I'm always out there and people are always shocked where the biggest bird nerd tells them that birding isn't about the birds, because it's not. I often tell people about the community portion of it. And, obviously I run a birding club, but some of the best people, Bianca, I've ever met in my life, I met in the wild. It's kind of cool. And some of the best people, the most kind people I've met on the trails. And once you get out there, birds are the on-ramp to a whole bunch of joy.
Man, that is so fair. And I have been known to hug a tree or two myself. I've got a tree specifically at Picnic Point that I visit. But, in terms of the kindest people, that tracks as well, because you're one of our favorite people to have on the show.
Oh, I love it.
You're just a bundle of joy. And if folks aren't following you on the Instagrams and on the socials, they definitely should be, because you spread joy like crazy on all of your birding adventures. And I want to ask you, what's a top moment of bird joy for you? Like a memory, a moment, and it's totally fine if you have more than one.
So I was in Fayette, Iowa. I went down there and I actually led a bird joy seminar at Upper Iowa University for their wildlife conservation students. And not only did we go birding, we went to Echo Valley State Park, which is a beautiful state park in Iowa, for almost 3 hours. So we got this birding fix. But do you watch the show The Americas? Have you seen that yet?
I've been hearing so much about it.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah.
So I was watching that show and it had this little feature on what they call a wandering salamander. And this little salamander was climbing up the redwood trees in California, gets all the way to the top and jumps off. So I went down there and I had this newfound love for salamanders for some reason. So as we're birding, I get to talking. I'm like, do y'all got salamanders here? And what the instructor was like, yes. He's like, that's one of the things we study. So he's like, I'll get you a salamander. And I was like, that is so awesome. I was like, you wouldn't happen to have any baby goats laying around, would you? He's like, Dex, I got 80 goats at my farm. And we have baby goats that are 2 weeks old. He's like, so you'll get the baby goat too. I got the whole... Not only did I go out and look for salamanders, I helped my first salamander, but I got to hold my first baby goat. And Bianca, her name is Bertha.
Oh,
Bertha.
My God, Bertha.
She laid her little head on my chest and she closed her eyes. And I was like, I've not stopped thinking about this baby goat. So what I said, that birding isn't about the birds. Sometimes it might be going out salamander hunting. It might be holding a little baby goat named Big Bertha because she's the biggest goat out of the little batch of the 2-week-olds. So you may have some of these other just ridiculous memories. Oh, and then when we're leaving the state park, so Iowa's a lot of farms, right? It's just literally a Division II university in the middle of the smallest town ever. They don't even have an elementary school, a middle school, or a high school, but they got a Division II university. So there's all these farms everywhere. And this farmer had 2 emus running around. And I was like, liberty, liberty. And I was like, look
I've been saying that all this morning for some reason. That's hilarious.
Look at these dang emus just running around. I almost jumped off the bus. I was so excited.
The whole animal world was being presented to you.
Oh, it was so fantastic. That literally was one of the best weekends of my life. They were so kind. They were so welcoming. And they were ready for some bird joy. So, I mean, I was so fired up after that. Like, when I'm at the presentation, it was just like, oh, I gave them everything that I had. And we had a really good time. So, just amazing.
Is one of the emphasis of that event about inclusivity and inclusive birding?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, that was a big thing. Obviously, and, you know, the students, the instructor, shout out to Paul. You know, he was like, we don't get, you know, guest lecturers here that are people of color. You know, we don't get black men coming to our campus to talk about birds and talk about conservation and diversity, equity, inclusion in the outdoor space. So that was a big focus on what I talked about in the seminar, was not only finding the joy, and they got to see that in person. I got to lead their students through their state park, and they got to see bird joy in action. They got to see me wandering Iowa, spreading some bird joy, you know. So that was a good part of it. And just seeing people of all walks of life come together for that. So it was a free event. Not only was it for the students, but people from the public could come in. The local Audubon chapter there were members from there. And it was just a really beautiful opportunity to show people why inclusivity in birding is so important. So I talked about accessibility. I talked about access. I talked about all the different things that we do with our club to make sure everyone can experience, you know, the things that we're doing out there. So it was fantastic. Honestly, it was, you know, I've been busy doing that, going to places, doing keynotes and really educating people about bird joy and how we can make this birding community more welcoming for everybody.
It really strikes me hearing about the fact that you're being called across the country. You're the co-founder of the BIPOC Birding Club in Wisconsin, which is an intentional space to include people of color in nature and being birders.
Yeah.
So just to hear that this is, you know, developing in this way and seeing you grow like that, hold up this Madisonian, you keep flying, Dex. I know I just get so much joy seeing you and the group getting out there and going birding. Can you talk about, for those who aren't familiar, can you kind of give a little overview of what the BIPOC Birding Club of Wisconsin is and like how it's been going? Like, what have y'all been up to?
Man, we created our club to create these safe spaces for people of color to get in the outdoors, and that on-ramp is through birding. And we welcome people, individuals, families of all ages. We also invite our allies to our monthly events. We've been hosting private BIPOC only walks, which really have been fantastic, and collaborating with some other local leaders like Christopher Kilgore and Jasmine Banks to bring people, Black and brown folks only and indigenous folks only into some of these spaces. We don't publicly advertise them. We have a private chat. So we've been doing that too, to create more spaces for those opportunities. And we felt like what was going on in the world, we needed to be more intentional about creating those spaces. So now we have not only our monthly events in Madison and Milwaukee that everybody is welcome, but we also have been hosting monthly walks for just BIPOC folk. And so we're creating more opportunities, spreading more joy, getting more people of color outside and showing them that nature is for them. And unfortunately, that access component has really kind of hurt our people more than people realize. And, you know, a lot of Black folks don't grow up knowing that green spaces are for them. The forest is for them. So that's what we've really been trying to show people, like, hey, you know what? We're going to create this space. We're going to lead you. You're going to be safe. We're going to do this together. You're going to learn. It's so cool. I talk about hugging trees. We got Black folks hugging trees, and we got the littles looking in scopes at ducks and different things, and just kind of opening these windows to the community. And it's been a lot of fun. So that's what we're doing now, is just continuing to create these spaces, continuing to get people outside and spreading that bird joy in the community.
I love to hear this addition, because it is so important. And you're talking about like people growing up and not knowing that the forest for them, it's like, where are the black hobbits, man? Like, where are the black elves? And just to be in that space is really a sense of grounding when the world can feel very dangerous, particularly if you are a person of color and you're identified as someone who might be dangerous. And we've talked about this before, like that maybe going out at night or going out in early hours for birding as a Black person could startle someone, because people have biases thinking that we're more likely to be cause harm to them, even though it's not true. Right? Yeah. So is there any other notes that you could add on to talking about like why this inclusivity and birding is important, especially today?
So I always tell people, when you start to pay attention, you start to care. When you start to care, you may do something. So when we're thinking about birds and we're thinking about their habitats, when we're thinking about conservation, we have to realize that 10, 20 years from now, we will not be the minority. So who is going to be in charge of protecting these species? Who's going to be in charge of making sure that these habitats are intact? And then when you look at what's kind of going on now, these habitats and the Endangered Species Act and all these things are under attack. Right. So I think it is imperative to get more people to care so we can get more people to do something to protect these endangered species, to protect these habitats that we're losing. Habitat loss is changing bird behavior. And the more we keep losing it, the more birds we lose. Over the last 50 years, we've lost billions of birds.
B as in billions as in B.
Over 3 billion birds we've lost. And that is really concerning. So I remember when I started really getting into birding, only 6% of Black people identified as a birder. 8% of Latino Hispanic people identified as birders. That is a problem. And so the more that we can create spaces for people to get outside, to have these experiences, hopefully they start to realize like these little things are important, because when we start to, they're a great barometer of what's happening in our ecosystems. So when we start losing birds, that means there's other things happening beyond the bird. Right? The bird species, their numbers are coming down. What else is being impacted? So we just got to get more people out there so more people start to care and more people start to do something.
Literally the canary in the coal mine situation. Yeah. It's strange to think, and maybe not strange, but, thinking about birding as political, but everything is political in a way. And I was just kind of pondering the fact that when I go out birding and getting out into nature, like I just marvel and celebrate the diversity of nature while birding. I don't know if this tracks with you, but just like seeing the wide variety of colors and patterns and behaviors and listening to different songs, like it almost feels humanizing in a sense, in a really fundamentally important way. Does that track with you?
Birding isn't about the birds. It does, right? It really kind of helps you live in the moment. And I think when you have all this chaos and all this crazy stuff going on in the world, the more that we can be like in our conscious mind, the more that we can be present in what's happening now in front of us, paying attention to the colors, paying attention to the trees and the sounds that you're hearing. How do you feel? And really kind of being present in that moment, it kind of brings down those cortisol levels, right? It kind of takes away a little bit of that anxiety and that worry from all the crazy, turn off the news, and go outside and pay attention and be with nature. It will change you. I promise you, and I always tell people that, like, if you're feeling like the world is just too much, right? And there are lots of moments like that for folks right now, turn off the TV, Go outside, right? Go out to your favorite park that's near you. It doesn't have to be some fancy place that's an hour away or anything. But when you show up, ask yourself how you feel. Are you stressed out? Are you anxious? Are you mad? All right. And really acknowledge that. Right. So now you've really set the tone of being mindful of how you feel in that moment. And then halfway through, ask yourself how you feel. Guarantee you feel a little bit better. Right. When you start getting close to the parking lot, ask yourself again, how do you feel? Guarantee you feel endlessly, like way more better. Right. So it is really kind of, you can control that. Right. We kind of are our thoughts sometimes. And the more you can be aware of what's going on, nature is the best place to do that. The best place to get grounded, the best place to decompress, the best place to just woosah sometimes and just be like, you know. Yes. Shout out to Tama Watts. She's really kind of into mindful birding. Just an amazing Black woman that lives out in SoCal. And she was the one that taught me about that, about really kind of taking note of how do you feel when you get there? How do you feel halfway through? How do you feel when you get back to your car? And I can't tell you, it's just really kind of changed my life of really just being like, passing that knowledge on to people. And it's proof that birding is for everyone, because they're going to be like, holy cow, Dexter was right. I feel better. Right. And if you understand that it's good for you, guess what? You're going to go back out. So, yeah, shout out to Tama Watts.
People have national interest in the Great Lakes region, right? Is there a type of bird that characterizes the Great Lakes? Like, is there that's a Great Laker right there? Are there any commonalities with the birds who choose to make their home here?
I don't think people realize how vast the Great Lakes actually are and the amount of diversity of birds that pass through the region. So I would say everybody can relate to, you know, American robins and cardinals, and, you know, you got a lot of different birds like that. And then the songbirds that come through, the different warblers that come through. But then you have certain warblers that come to Michigan that don't come to, you know, Wisconsin or Ohio that don't come here. So, yeah, I don't know if there's one bird that represents the Great Lake region specifically, but like sandhill crane is a really, really good one.
Is there a sandhill crane on your hat? Right
no,
now?
this is actually an acorn woodpecker.
Okay, now I'm seeing it. Now I'm embarrassed.
He's got this little
that doesn't
acorn.
Look anything. Doesn't even have legs. Sorry, that's my eyes.
This is one of those birds that I have yet to see. They're more on the West Coast. I really, really love them. They store all these little acorns in like a million holes on a tree. Like they're really cool birds, and they hang out in colonies and with their families. And I don't know. One of these days, somebody's gonna bring me to California to do a bird joy seminar, and I'm gonna get this bird.
Yes, it is such a joy. And like we said, it's spring, so it's go time. And the Great Wisconsin Birdathon is happening right now until June 15th. And y'all will be taking part in that. Like, what's going on there?
Yeah, so we've been doing that since we started our club. Shout out to the Natural Resources Foundation. They've been very, very important to our growth, and you know we've gotten some grants through them that allow us to launch our birding backpack program, that allowed us to start our Bus to Nature program, that allowed us to build a website when we started launching. So the Birdathon is how we've been able to get those funds. So it has been clutch for us. So shout out to the Natural Resources Foundation. We do have a team, the BIPOC Flock. So if you want to join our team, you can head to their website and check us out. We'd love to have you on our team.
Heck yeah. And before I let you go, Dex, voting for Wisconsin's Fat Bird Week opens Friday, May 8th. That's always fun to celebrate our chunky native birds. It's an opportunity also to learn like how to help them. Mm-hmm. So, you know, plump looking fluffy birds. Those are the kind of birds you get to vote for in the Wisconsin Fat Bird Week.
A lot of times when you see these birds fluffed up like that either they're alarmed or they just got done preening and they like shake themselves, or it's cold and they puff up, right? So the birds are the original puffy coat. So usually when you see them like that, that's not really how they look. There are some that are a little more plump, but it's usually one of those three. They just got done preening their feathers and they fluff out.
Wow.
They're on alert. They see something and they're on alert, or they're just cold.
This is exactly why folks should, like, if they want to, go out and be a part of BIPOC Birding Club and be a part of the birding community so they can actually learn. Like, actually, that's a specific behavior from the birds. Dex, we appreciate you so much. Thank you for joining us on CityCast Madison and giving us an update on your adventures and what's coming up.
Yeah, it's always good to be here. Shout out to CityCast Madison.
That's Dexter Patterson, the Wisco birder, co-founder of the BIPOC Birding Club, and a new role since last time we spoke, the Director of Sciences and Climate at Wisconsin Academy of Sciences, Arts, and Letters. He's the best. And I want to plug an upcoming event being put on by the Wisconsin Academy that you should definitely get tickets for fast, because it will likely sell out. A part of their Finding Home series, the 23rd U.S. Poet Laureate, internationally renowned writer, and musician Joy Harjo will perform at the Overture Center and be in conversation with yours truly, me. She is a member of the Muskogee Creek Nation and the first Indigenous writer to serve as U.S. Poet Laureate, and the talk is called Inhabiting Home on Earth. It's going to be creative magic. That's this month, Thursday, May 21st, 2026 at 7 p.m. And it will feature her poetry, music, and stories, and a one-on-one with me, plus a Q&A. This is the Academy's event of the year, and it's going to be amazing. There's also a live streaming option if you can't make it in person. If you want tickets, find the link in our show notes today. That's all for today, here on CityCast Madison. I'm your host, Bianca Martin. Don't forget you can support the show and get great perks by becoming a CityCast Madison neighbor at membership.citycast.fm/Madison. If you enjoyed the show, why not share this episode with a true lover of nature? Bird call, y'all. All right, we'll be back tomorrow morning with more stories from around the city. Until then, take good care.